Joining me today in studio, a good friend of mine, Richard Richter, his new book, Crossing the Rubicon. Richard, thanks very much for taking time out to come and see us today.
Thank you very much, Russell. I appreciate being here today.
Well, Richard, this is your first book. Tell us a little bit about it. I was just kind of reading the back cover, and I'll be honest, I've had a copy of this for about a week. Haven't had a chance to really peruse it, but I kind of like the back page here. Imagine yourself living over 200 years ago.
Okay.
Run us down that road, my friend.
I'd be happy to. This is a story that's a historical fiction. It follows seven teenagers or young adults. They go on a caving expedition to Nordegg, Alberta, and while they're in the cave, there's a fold in time or shift in time, and when they leave the cave, they're 275 years in the past.
Now, are they still in Nordegg, or are they somewhere else?
No, they're still in Nordegg, Alberta. It's like going into the cave in 2014 and leaving the cave in 1740.
So, okay, so they'd be pretty much alone at that point. There'd be natives around maybe, and that would be about it. But so what? Now, they don't stay in Nordegg, though. They keep moving.
No, it's really a story of survival. I mean, it's like you going into the woods with a backpack, the shirt on your back, a knife, and forced to live off the land. So they realize that they can't stay in Nordegg because winter's coming. They don't have anything, so they make a decision to first head south, and then they're going to go to the west coast of Canada, to BC. And from there, they formulate a strategy or a plan that they're going to head really down to Mexico because they figure it's warm, they can live off the land. At this point, they don't know what the year is. I mean, they could be 10,000 years in the future or 10,000 years in the past.
So does it start to dawn on them? Do they start to figure out where they are and what's happened to them over the course of the book? Now, I don't want you to spill it all, but, just kind of give us a little bit.
Yes, eventually, I mean, they do run into, I'll spoil it a little bit, they run into a native band on the West Coast. And they now have an estimate of their time period, but they're not really sure. Later on in the book, they do run into basically a group of people, and they find out exactly what the date is to the day.
And that must be a bit of a dun-dun-dun-dun revelation.
It is, and at that point, it's now that they've linked up with, the culture really 275 years ago. It's them meeting the right people, a church takes them in, and they eventually, have to figure out how to survive 275 years ago in the past. And it is also, the way the book is written, it's written as a journal. It's the main character is Trinity Warner, and she writes this journal actually for her parents, is what she does, because it's like, one day you go out and you suddenly disappear. So it's kind of the regret you have for your not being able to say goodbye to your parents, and vice versa, your parents not knowing what happened to you. So the journal she writes is really something that she's going to pass through time, and eventually hopes that her mom and dad eventually get the story that she tells.
Now, I want to ask, if they get back to where they have to do, you'll have to read the book to find out. But now for you, now you're writing about teenagers or people, young adults. How long have you had this in your head? Is this something you've had thinking about for a while, or is it just kind of came to you recently? Or
well, this is actually a project that I, to be honest, started 20 years ago. I used to have a film production company called Midnight Highway. One weekend, me and the partners, we actually went out to the Nordegg Cave, the Chunga Caves at Nordegg, Alberta. It's a real place. And while we were in the cave and on the drive home, I thought, what happened if we were in the cave and suddenly when we left the cave, it wasn't today, it was, hundreds of years in the past. How would we deal with it? And from that is where the story came from. Initially, I was going to try doing it as a screenplay for a feature film, but 20 years ago, that wasn't realistic. And in February 2012, driving to work, it popped in my head again, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this story because it's a good story, and I'm going to do it as a book, because a book people will read, and appreciate.
Excellent. Now, again, if I want to find the book, chapters.com, amazon.com, I think there's a few copies in the chapters around in Calgary.
You can. It's definitely amazon.com, Barnes & Noble in the States. In Calgary, it's actually at 2 chapters right now. It's at Chapters Southland and Chapters Signal Hill.
Okay.
Those are the 2 that have it right now.
You can get it. The book is called Crossing the Rubicon. Again, what would you do if you found yourself 200 years in the past? That's pretty interesting. The author, Richard Richter. Richard, thank you very much for joining us today, and we wish you the best of luck with the book.
Thank you very much, Russell. Appreciate it. Have a great day.